Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope you all had a great week. So let's get started. So this week, we're going to talk about our planets in the solar system. So I kind of put my little backdrop of all of our planets that are in order from closest to the sun. So here's our sun over here. So we're going to talk about all the different planets this week. So in each of our lessons this week, I'm going to talk about 2 planets at a time. So our first 2 planets that we're going to talk about today are Mercury and Venus. They're the ones closest to the sun. So if you see here is Mercury, which is the one closest to the sun. So it's the first planet closest to the sun. And then we have Venus, which is the second closest planet to the sun. So before we talk about the planets, I'm going to read a quick little story about planets. And then I'll show you the planets more up close, and we'll talk about their characteristics and what makes them the planet that they are. So I'm going to read planets. So my planet on the cover is Saturn. That's the planet Saturn. And you can tell because of the rings around Saturn. All right, so the planets. Look, it's planet Earth. From way up high, our planet looks like a floating marble of blue, white, and green. But we know that it's so much more. So that's Earth from space. Earth has giant oceans and tiny ponds, towering mountains, and rolling hilltops. Warm sunshine, fluffy snowflakes, stormy showers, and falling autumn leaves. Earth has big brown bears and soft cuddly bunnies, mighty lions and bouncy kangaroos, and people too. But our planet Earth is just one of many planets. What is a planet? A planet travels around a star. Remember, what's that star that it travels around? The biggest star in our solar system, the sun, right? The biggest one. There are billions of stars in our universe, and our star is the sun. The sun holds 8 large planets in paths that go round and round. Remember, they orbit. Because you can't see it, but there's a force called gravity that holds the planets in place. Gravity also is what keeps you from floating into space. Remember, gravity is what holds us down on Earth, so we don't float away into space. There's a planet map. The planets that circle our sun make up our solar system. Can you find the Earth? Can you find Earth there? Earth's right there. Here's our sun. There is Earth. Start at the sun and count 1, 2, 3. There is the Earth, the 3rd planet from the sun. And it says, have you ever seen a planet through a telescope? And I have a cool picture that someone in my neighborhood took of all the planets in their telescope that I'm going to share with you later this week. And then it says, which planet is your favorite? Look at all the different planets. They all are very different and look very different. Which one's your favorite? The 4 planets closest to the sun are made of rock and metal. So here are 4 planets closest to the sun. We have Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. They are made of rock and metal. They are all the warmest of all the planets, and the 2 closest are a little too warm for us. So the ones we're talking about today, Mercury and Venus, are too hot to live on because they're the closest to the sun, so they're the hottest. And these 4 are the warmest because they're closest to the sun. And it says the surface of Mars looks red because it's covered with reddish rocks called iron ore. So here's Mars down here. And it says Earth is in just the right spot called the Goldilocks zone. People live where it's not too hot and not too cold. Because once we start getting past Mars, it starts getting much, much colder because it's further away from the sun. There are 4 gas giants that whoosh and swirl way out in space. So the next 4 planets, so we have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They're called gas giants because they're made of gas and clouds. They don't have a hard ground like the rocky planets, so they don't have a surface where we could actually touch and stand on. Now it says ring around the planet. Some planets have rings around them. Saturn's rings are made of dust and ice. Sunlight reflects off the ice and makes the rings sparkle. So Saturn, you can always tell which planet Saturn is because of its big giant rings. 5 teeny tiny planets called dwarf planets can be found in our solar system too. They're too small to be called regular planets, but they're too big to be just rocks. And some dwarf planets are very far away. If you could travel to the farthest one in a rocket, it would take up to 30 years to get there. That's a long time to be in a rocket to get to a planet. It says wild weather. The weather on other planets is not like here on Earth. So in Venus, which is the one we're going to talk about today, it is 400 times hotter than the hottest summer day on Earth. And then it says Jupiter and Venus have hurricanes that last for years. And then some planets have giant dust storms. Some planets have moons, and moons are rock or ice that circle a planet. Like we have a moon. It's made of rock or ice. Ours is made of rock. It took astronauts in a spaceship 3 days to reach our moon. It would take more than a year to fly from Earth to Jupiter's moons. Some planets have more than one moon. We only have one moon for Earth. Some planets have lots of moons. Even some have over 60 moons. Our solar system might seem like a very big place, but it's just one solar system in a galaxy called the Milky Way. So far, scientists have counted 500 other solar systems in our galaxy. The Milky Way is just one of hundreds of billions of galaxies in the universe. If you started counting now, it would take you 30 years to count to just 1 billion. That's a long, long, long time to just count. With so many planets, you might wonder if there are other people or animals out in space. Astronomers are space scientists who wonder the same thing. Astronomers use telescopes to explore the night sky. They use computers to help them search for planets that are the most like Earth. They have already found a few. So astronomers are the ones that, scientists that study the night sky. So maybe one day when you're all grown up, you will be able to board a rocket to Mars. Until then, look up at the night sky, watch, wonder, and imagine what else is out there. All right. So our first 2 planets we're going to talk about that are the closest to the sun are Mercury and Venus. So Mercury is the first planet closest to the sun. And here is Mercury. Here is our planet Mercury. What does it kind of look like? First, what is its shape? What are all of our planets' shape? They are all a circle, right? And what color is Mercury? Mercury is like brown, right? It kind of looks like it has a little bit of craters on it. And now remember, the ones closest, the 4 planets closest to the sun are made of rock and metal. So Mercury is made of rock and metal. And it has no moons, so like us, it doesn't have a moon. And it doesn't have any rings around it. You can't see any rings around it like Saturn has rings. There's no rings around Mercury. Now, Mercury, look at all of our planets. It is the smallest planet. It's the smallest planet. So it's not very big. It's the smallest planet in our solar system. And it's very, very hot during the day. Think of an oven when your mom and dad cook, right? You shouldn't touch an oven. The Mercury is very hot, like an oven. So you wouldn't want to live on Mercury. It's very, very hot. But at night, it's very, very, very cold. And the Mercury orbits the sun faster than any other planet. So it goes really, 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 really fast around the sun. But then it turns on its axis very slowly. So it turns very, very slow. And there is no air or water on Mercury, so no people or animals can live on it because we need air and water to breathe, right? So no people or animals live on Mercury. So remember, Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. It's the closest to the sun, and it is made up of rock and metal. So here Mercury is our first planet closest to the sun. Hopefully that sticks really well. Let's get that to stick. There we go. Mercury is our first planet. So our next planet we're going to talk about is Venus. So here's Venus. Now look, here's Mercury, and here's Venus. How are they different in sizes? Remember, Mercury is the smallest planet in our solar system. Is Venus much bigger? It's much bigger, but it's not the biggest in our solar system. So Venus is definitely bigger than Mercury. And look at it. What color is it? It's very yellow and golden, right? Now Mercury is, or this is Venus, sorry. Venus is our second planet closest to the sun. So it's the second planet. So it's next in line. It's the second one closest to the sun. So here is Venus right here. Mercury, Venus. And remember, it's one of the fourth closest to the sun, so it's made up of rock and metal. And it has no rings around it like Saturn, so no rings. It also doesn't have any moons. I don't believe it has any moons. Let me look. No moons, right? And it is the hottest planet in our solar system. So like Mercury, it was very hot during the day, but it cold at night. It is hot all the time on Venus. So it's always hot like an oven on Venus. And it's the third brightest object in our solar system. Sometimes at night, we can see Venus in the night sky. It looks like a big star, but unlike all the other stars that you see shining bright, it's a lot brighter than all the other stars up there. So it might be a little bit shinier up in the sky, and that's Venus. So Venus is the closest to Earth, because right here is Earth, here, and it's the closest to Earth, right? Venus, Earth. So it's the closest to Earth, and it has hundreds and hundreds of volcanoes on it, right? What's a volcano? Think of a volcano. Do we have volcanoes on Earth? We have volcanoes on Earth. So this one has hundreds and hundreds of volcanoes on its surface. And we said it's made of rock and metal, and it's covered by thick clouds, and it's like a desert, but it's hot and dry every day. It doesn't get cold at night like a desert, but it's hot and dry every day. And it has no air or water on it, so no animals or plants can live on Venus. So the most important things to know about Venus are the second planet closest to the Earth. It's golden. It's the third brightest planet in our solar system, or object in our solar system, and it is covered by lots and lots of volcanoes. So right, we have Mercury is the closest to the sun, and then we have Venus. And next, I'll talk to you guys about Earth and Mars. So I'll see you soon.